It was interesting being on the show because so many fans were very upset that they changed some of the original characters from men to women, maybe vice versa. And obviously Boomer, instead of being a African American, turned out to be a Asian woman. And then of course Starbuck, this was something that was very controversial. Everybody was upset that somehow, some way they cast a woman in the role of Starbuck. It's amazing how upset everybody was. And I thought, why are you so upset? I said, what a compliment they were paying to Dirk Benedict, because they were basically saying, we don't want to cast a man playing that same role because number one, then everybody would compare the two actors, right? But by casting a woman, you really couldn't compare them. You had to accept the new Apollo the new Starbuck as somebody totally different and unique. And the two characters really were not exactly the same. I mean, they evolved the concept of Starbuck. She was not just the rogue, bad boy type character. She was, you loved her, you hated her, she drove you crazy, she shook you up, you wanted to make love to her. I mean, there were so many different dimensions to that character. Obviously the writing in the new show for me had really grown and evolving the characters into very multi-dimensional, complex characters. But I thought Katie Sackhoff was extraordinary as Starbuck, and I love the original Starbuck.
What was Dirk's reaction to?
And Dirk was very upset because I think Dirk, probably has some problems with what's going on in the world where it's not about women versus men or men versus women, but I think he's upset that, sometimes they go to the extreme in trying to make a point. And I think he felt like, men were being emasculized and women were kind of being brought in and replacing men in traditional roles. And that was part of it, but I think the bigger part of it was, I don't know if what people think about this, but I'm all for women. I think women are far more than equal in many ways. We have our weaknesses and strengths. Women should be able to be whoever they want. They should make equal money for equal time. I want women to be presidents. I wish we had a woman president, but I do think that they've come to the extreme of making men look like idiots on television. So often in commercials, men look like the foundering idiot, and the woman is the strong savior person.
The intelligent one.
Yeah, the intelligent one. And I just thought, there needs, instead of going from one extreme, and by the way, women have had it unfair for many eons of time. So I totally understand the frustration and the anger and all that stuff. But I think that it doesn't serve a purpose by going to the other extreme and making men look like idiots and stupid. I think, first of all, men, I think, we're kind of caught up in a place where they don't quite know what it means to be a man anymore. And I have a feeling that, we're redefining roles, redefining who we are, and that's all good stuff. But I do think that men do need to reclaim their masculinity, right? The sense of manhood, without losing or maybe adding to that sensitivity, empathy, compassion, some of those other areas sometimes that may not be as developed, although I have to admit some of my male friends are the most sensitive, intuitive, creative human beings that I've ever met. But I think that, again, men and women can balance each other. We need women in the world and women need men in the world, and there needs to be something that shows men and women both in their strength, both in their, their strong points, instead of setting one up and setting one down. It's always that old win-lose thing, men are better, women are not, or now women are better and men are not. I'm tired of the whole argument. So I think he was kind of caught up in some of that stuff, anger and frustration with what is happening in the marketplace. And I think replacing him with a woman really kind of touched a nerve in him. But honestly, I think it was a compliment to him. And Boomer was played by, Grace Parks, and I love Grace Parks. She's darling, and she's now on Hawaii Five-0, doing a great job. And again, I didn't have a problem with it. I love really wonderful characters, and they picked really wonderful actors to play these parts. So I love Katie, but again, the old Battlestar was a totally different show, even though the core story is the same. But the new show honestly went far more into the core story of life and death. And for me, really for the first time, I kind of brought the real underlying story to life. in the most powerful way possible. And I was so proud to be part of it. And that doesn't take away from the original show. You can love both shows for different reasons. And that's what I do. I love both shows for different reasons. But certainly, 35 years later, the new show, the quality of the writing, the level of the acting, the producing, everything is, 10 times from where it was 35 years ago. And the world's changed. They give far more permission to go into those edgy, dark places that 35 years ago they were afraid of. So again, I love what they did with those characters, and I think the show turned out to be one of the best TV sci-fi shows of all time.
Hot dog, what the hell are you doing?
Enjoying blue skies again. About the only thing I miss about New Caprica.
Showtime, Bogey. My right one in the stupid 45. Committing.
Starbuck, hot dog, no joy. Press!
Abort the unwrap. Unhook those fuel lines immediately.
Refueling ships Galactica. Immediate. Cease all underway replenishment ops.
So we got both Starbuck and Hot Dog on Dratus, but no contact on the bogey.
We're lucky we can see anything. That planet's synchrotron radiation has been kicking the crap out of every Dratus in the fleet since we got here.
Price you pay for a good place to hide or refuel the fleet.
Looks like it's also a good place for hiding a Cylon raider.
Starbuck, Paula, what do you got?
We got one turkey playing hide and seek in the clouds. No sparrows. Engaging offensive.
One heavy raider. No fighter escort.
Still no bandits on Dratus.
If that bastard jumps, the Cylons could be all over us in minutes.
Alert the fleet to stand by for an emergency jump.
Starbuck, hot dog, no visual on your radar, and I'm losing you! Damn it, Starbuck, blind! I say again, I lost you in the clouds! Contact on your boat. Do you have visual?
Affirmative. He's hiding in the clouds. He just ducked into the storm system.
Do you see him?
Listener, Starbuck, tally, weapons hot. Listener, Starbuck took a hit. Still flying.
Starbuck, RG nominal.
Caught me under the chin, but everything's great.
Where the hell is that raider?
Sir, Starbuck's dropping close to the planetary hard deck. She stays on course, the atmospheric density will keep her from reaching orbit again.
Then the pressure will crush her like a cheap soda can.
Starbuck, you're getting too low. Break off and climb. I repeat, Starbuck, you're getting too low. Break off and climb. Starbuck. Starbuck, pull out before you don't have to smash to regain orbit. Starbuck, coming in.
Where the hell's she going?
Starbuck?
Get out of there.
Starbuck, come in. Do you read? Starbuck, you're getting too low. Break off and climb.
Get up.
Hot dog, do you have a visual on Starbuck? Starbuck, come in. Do you read? Starbuck, pull out! That is an order. Pull out!
Apollo, Starbuck, Wilco! Come on!
Well, the interesting thing is that not every sci-fi actor, or I should say actors that work on sci-fi, are sci-fi fans. I've been a huge sci-fi fan since I was 8 years old. I'm a big Trekkie, okay? Love Trekkie. I love Star Trek. I love anything that explores the mysteries of the universe and explores some of those questions about who we are, where we came from. So I was really, at these conventions we get invited to sometimes, these events that we get invited to, we get to meet some of these actors that we grew up with. And I was a young actor in New York when I was watching the original Star Trek with, Kirk and all the original actors from that show.
Spock.
And so what a pleasure, to finally get a chance at these conventions in the green room and some of the gatherings and cocktail parties they would have for the fans. I got a chance to meet these actors from Star Trek. I got to meet, I can't even think of his name now.
Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy, I got to meet, wonderful man. Anyway, the point I'm making is I got to meet Walter and I got to know him a little bit. And when they were putting together this project that he wrote called Inalienable, which was kind of an interesting story about some kind of alien intervention where somebody actually, believe it or not, this premise of a scientist getting infected by a spore from a fallen particle of a part of an asteroid somehow finds a way to gestate inside his body, but instead of being the normal kind of thing that just kills you outright, it's almost like he ends up, and this sounds strange, but it actually makes a lot of sense. He actually starts gestating something that's half human and half alien, almost like giving birth to this creature. And when he finds out about this, he thinks he's going to die. And the interesting thing is that this man, in the course of his life, feels like he's responsible for the death of his family in a car wreck that happened like 10, 15 years ago. And here he is, all of a sudden infected by the spore, think he's going to die, and the thing turns out to actually be a savior. This child that comes out turns out to bring him back from the brink, to open his heart, to bring him back to life. And Walter wrote this wonderful, really, truly wonderful role, and I couldn't believe that some people kind of brought my name into the mix, and he was willing to give me a chance. And I got a chance to work with Walter, and he actually played the bad guy, the doctor, who's totally against everything and trying to manipulate the situation. And I play this guy struggling to deal with the thought of dying, and then all of a sudden having a child that he actually loves as a parent. And then, of course, they try to take the child away and operate on it and do all this crazy stuff on it, and he's fighting for the child's freedom. And it's kind of a story about how when we look different, talk different, sound different, we're not animals, we're not creatures, we're still, what do you want to call it? We're sentient beings that should be respected. So it had a kind of a greater message to it. So it was a pleasure working with Walter because he's very, has this great dry sense of humor. He is genuinely a good person, very gracious on the set. He really gives his most to help you as the other actor. No ego. And it was, like I said, it was just such a pleasure to work with and get to know him. And I've gotten to be really great friends. We kibitz with each other. We have a great chemistry. And we worked again together in this thing that Tim Russ directed. This kind of little 20-minute short that we worked on together. And he asked if I would be in that role as well. It was about kind of a mythological thing about a war field where people kill each other. And it's almost like, think of it going to hell and having to relive the fact of being on the battlefield, killing each other, and every second you die and then you wake up and the whole thing starts again and repeats it. It's kind of a piece about the futility of war. And it was a wonderful piece that Walter wrote, and I got a chance to be a part of that. So I've gotten to know him quite well, and I went to his induction for his star on the Walk of Broadway. Walk of Fame. So I thought that was pretty amazing. Of course, I was a little pissed, like, where's my star on the Walk of Fame? Who's this Walter Koenig guy anyway, you know what I mean? What the frack did he ever do? I mean, I was, So anyway, no, I was very proud and very happy for him. So, no.
The
This rock thing that your friend gave you? Did he say where it was from?
Outer space.
Norris's friend found a foreign organism attached to a piece of the meteor. The thing has gotten inside him and is growing at an accelerated pace.
What's the matter?
This. It's nesting in there.
I've never seen anything like this.
This alien Benjamin.
He is my son.
Do you have any proof it exists?
Where are they taking him?
The United States government is holding Benjamin without good cause.
I don't want him in the courtroom under any circumstances. This monster you so pathetically call your son is going to be taken from you forever.
Benjamin's in danger.
Benjamin is my son. He belongs with me. That's the way it's going to come out.
You know, I'm first of all, I'm an actor, writer, director, producer, and I love creating stories that entertain, obviously, make you laugh, make you cry, but I love movies that leave you with hope, that inspire you, that open your eyes to seeing life in maybe new ways, maybe to see the larger picture that so often we don't see. I love any kind of literature that really stimulates our imagination and helps us to step out of the box and see the world in a more expanded way. So I love writing stories about people in varied life and death circumstances, again, where they struggle with their demons, where they struggle with their dark sides, struggle with their fears, and then we get to see the epic story of the true hero that's thrown into the abyss and then tries to struggle to find their way back. And whether they make it or not, the struggle to come back is heroic. And I think that those kinds of stories are iconic, right? They're archetypal story structures. And when you can weave those elements into a story, I think you touch people in a very profound way. But I'm always about stories that really delve into some of the deeper questions about humanity, about life, about who we are, and obviously creating great characters you can care about that can take you on that journey into that story. And that's what Guam is for me. Great War Magellan finally got evolved out of my frustrations with Battlestar and not being able to really do all the things that I wanted to do with Battlestar back when I was doing the Second Coming trailer. I felt Battlestar had such potential. That world, that universe I was in love with, but I realized at the end of the day, Universal owned it. So I started developing Guam, this epic story that for me is what sci-fi is all about. Great science fiction is visionary, it's intelligent, it really explores theoretical probabilities and possibilities. And it takes us where no man or woman has gone before. You know, it takes us on that adventure. And I wanted something that would really touch all those places inside of me and would touch all those places inside of the people that watched it. So I've been working on this for 10 years, and I didn't pitch it or give it to any studio.
10 years?
Yeah, 10 years I've been working on it. And I didn't pitch it anywhere, and the reason why is I didn't want to just sell it to some studio that put it on a shelf or change it into something that they wanted it to be, or if they decided it didn't fit their business model, then they would just cancel it like so many other shows they do. I mean, they've taken off every space show. Every show that deals with space, they've taken off the air. So I feel we're in a new day where you can create projects and reach the world. And then it's all about the audience determining your success, not a executive in a boardroom who may not understand science fiction or get it or like it at all. So my thought is, I want to go directly to the audience, and if the audience loves it, then very much let the audience support that. And today, just like music, right, with iTunes or whatever other format, Napster, there's so many ways now that you create a win-win situation where people can download music, they pay far less than they used to pay for it, and the audience, you know, obviously gets a great deal, but you also reach more people who can afford it, and ultimately the studio makes maybe more money than they made before. It's a different business model. Well, my thought is if fans really believe in something, then you've got to find a way for them to support it, because the trouble is if we don't support the things we love, they go away. and then we get things we don't want. So my thought of it is that if you create something that people like, then you build a relationship with the fans that watch it, and you work out a deal where it doesn't cost them that much to watch it. In a sense, they're supporting your show, and at the same time, you're able to produce the kind of quality programming that they're missing, that the studios aren't doing. There's a big hole in the programming of networks and studios that's not being filled, and the sci-fi genre is not being served very well. So or even the fantasy, although there's a couple of fantasy shows on, you know, Game of Thrones and a few others that are quite good. But these genres are not really being served to the fullest, and there's a very frustrated fan base out there. So my thought is, you know, I want to start creating shows again that will serve that marketplace, serve those people, because I'm a fan along with all those fans out there that I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated along with them, and I want to create programming that will touch them and move them and entertain them. And in many cases, like I said, great sci-fi illuminates the human condition, and hopefully at the end of the day, it can inspire us, you know, to move on to greater things. So that's what I'm looking to do, and I'm looking to build a financial model that will work. And they're coming up with all kinds of revolutionary concepts, Indiegogo, Kickstarter campaigns where fans can pay $10, $50, $100. They give people rewards, and they sometimes, you know, for a certain kind of gift of whatever amount of money you're willing to give, you can come on the set, play a role. Sometimes you get to meet the actors, have a dinner with them, and they work out deals where if you put in $1,000 or $50, you know, $500 or $250, but if you can only afford $10, $15, then hey, if it's something you love, I mean, if you're a Firefly fan, you'd easily pay $10 to watch Firefly episodes. Wouldn't it be nice to have the show back on, actually running on a weekly basis? And if enough people paid $10, you could have Firefly episodes again. Same thing with Battlestar. The trouble is the studios aren't set up for that. Their overhead is such that they need so many fans to watch it, and to watch it when their commercials play, not TiVo it, not buy it just on your DVD, not download it. They need you to watch it with the commercials, because otherwise they can't justify, you know, the revenue that they get from commercials and advertising. So again, we're kind of in a weird kind of crossover from an old paradigm to a new paradigm. And so again, I'm looking to see how I can create a story, put it online, reach an audience, and if the audience likes it, then you build a relationship to the audience so that they support you, but nobody is having to, you know, come up with a lot of money. You come up with $2, $3, $5, something really inexpensive to watch something that you love. And if you don't love it, then you don't. I mean, the truth of it is, it should always come down to the fans making the decision rather than an executive in a boardroom. And wouldn't it be nice to be watching what you love without commercial? You know? Trouble is, when it's commercial driven, you end up a lot of times with product and stories and stuff that you don't want to see. There's some very good things on cable. There's a few good shows on network, but there's a lot of crap. And I think most fans and most people I know are pretty frustrated with the sci-fi marketplace. I would love to be one of those that serves that marketplace and produces quality program for all those fans that are frustrated out there, along with me.
Let me tell you the story of the Great War of Magellan.
A great civil war plunged the world into chaos and devastation.
Countless millions of human beings sacrificed.
Competing for control of free space, these gangs of traitors, led by two powerful adversaries, the Khan and the Samari, competed violently against each other.
You killed my father. Your father's alive.
My father's dead. And by the blood of my forefathers, you're gonna join him.
You'll die! When and where I choose!
All right, you little bastard. Come and get me.
We are here to warn you that millions of years of your race's evolution are about to be terminated.
The Kappa Hive has reached completion. Soon they'll be swarming across the galaxy.
Prophecies have come true.
What Hades is that?
The Kappa. The human race is no longer on top of the food chain.
We haven't been free in over 300 years. We've let the Kaaba destroy everything we believe in, and now our race is dying because we haven't the will to fight for the one thing worth fighting for, our freedom! Let us join together and show these bastards who we are.
For freedom!
Commence firing.
The couple will slaughter us.
Then let us die.
They say you choose your own destiny.
Sometimes destiny chooses you.
First of all, at the 25th Battlestar Anniversary Convention, I played the original Battlestar movie on the IMAX. And even with the matte paintings, which are the background fill-in, that gives you the kind of some of those epic visuals, you know, really didn't look all that well on the IMAX. But beyond that, Battlestar looked amazing on the IMAX. And I thought, this show deserves to be on the big screen. So I know that there's been multiple attempts to do that. Bryan Singer is the latest attempt, and I don't know if that's going to happen now because he keeps getting carried on to other projects. And for some reason, Battlestar has been this enigmatic show that the studio doesn't quite know what to do with. And you know, you know what I think? I think anything that really Battlestar is a much different kind of sci-fi show. It's much more real, in your face, gritty, dark, about real subject matter. And I think it's almost too real, you know, and too close to people that, so it's actually threatening and intimidating to people. So I think people somehow have this enigmatic kind of love-hate, and I don't mean the fans, I'm talking about the studio. The studio can't quite wrap their head around this because their idea of sci-fi, I think, tends to be something a little bit more, you know, sci-fi veneer. I think the studio thinks of sci-fi as being strange, weird foreheads and monsters and creatures and things like this, you know. And anything that's too serious or too real or too mirroring of humanity, I think sometimes can be very threatening. And so therefore, I think Battlestar just might be a little too heavy, a little too dark for the studio to really wrap their head around it. But I think the times are changing, and cable has brought forth some really powerful productions that are very edgy, very provocative, very on the edge. So listen, the right place, the right time, the right channel, the right whatever, Battlestar would be perfect for that. It's just that, you know, up until 3 or 4 years ago when it ended. When did it end now? Jesus, it was 8. So it's almost 5 years now.
Yeah.
5 years ago. Well, the world has changed a lot in 5 years. Now, you know, Battlestar would probably be more right for what's going on now than even 5 years ago. So, you know, I think Battlestar is going to continue to come back. And ultimately, I think it'll finally really find its place where it can really, what's the word, plant its roots and grow. I see all these other shows that are on for 10, 12 years, you know, and I never understand why Battlestar struggles to stay on for even 3 and 4 years. The original show had such a huge, dedicated fan base, and they took it off after 1 year. And I just think, again, that Battlestar somehow maybe mirrors society so powerfully that somehow it intimidates people on some level. It's just too heavy for most people to handle. My biggest regret in a 45-year-old history of my acting profession, I would have to say my biggest regret is saying no to too many projects, idealistically looking for the perfect show. There's no such thing as perfection, and when you're always waiting for that perfect something, you end up closing the door to many opportunities that could actually lead to what it is that you want. And I think I said no way too many times to way too many projects, and not out of ego, but just out of really wanting to do something meaningful, something that heartfelt, something I cared about. At heart, I'm what can I say? I love inspiring people and helping to open doors of perception, to help people look at the larger picture. I love seeing people do their best work. I'm really, really good at helping people step up to the next level and do the best work they've ever done. That's one of the gifts I do as a teacher when I lecture. Nobody can do it for you, but I'm really, really good because I'm empathetic. I really sense into people and I can really see what's blocking them and what's really getting in the way. So I love being part of projects that do that. So my biggest regret was turning down a lot of actually good projects because either I was scared to fail, and I have to admit that. And I'm sure there were times when I was scared to fail, and I was really threatened, and I ended up justifying it by saying it wasn't the perfect project. And other times it was because I was just looking for the perfect woman. You know, again, working for some ideal. You really have to what's the word? You have to step out, have the courage to say yes and open up to the opportunities of life and get into the game and let the ball bounce, and then it finds the proper slots and holes where it's supposed to go, and you end up going places you never dreamt you would go. But when you say no, you close the door down to opportunity, and that was my biggest lesson. I teach it to people. Learn to say yes and to step into the game and take your chances and take your risks and learn what you got to learn, grow, evolve, and step into life in a full way, and then opportunities will come. Life will happen. You got to learn to step into life and commit fully to what you truly want to do, and take a risk, take the chance of failing, take the chance of humiliating yourself, because that is the only way, honestly, to go out there and learn, grow, evolve, and ultimately find your place in the world. So say we all.
Here it is, nicely done.
Oh, how funny. That's me as a little baby.
Yeah.
I think we got him on the run now, Starbuck. Let's see if we can find that Cylon base ship. Yeah! Frack!
Yeah, it's if you flip it up.
Boy, this is old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got this somewhere in around 1980.
Yep, these are all the stills from the movie, the Battlestar Galactica movie. My God, look at all these. Lauren Green there.
Yeah.
Of course, we got to find Captain Apollo. Where am I? You don't recognize that shot. Okay, it's John Colicos. Herb Jefferson. Jane Seymour. Where am I? There I am, right there on the top there. Interesting. Has all the dialogues. The script is kind of nice, like a graphic novel. It's not writing very well. It doesn't write very well. On this paper is the problem.
Yeah.
This paper just doesn't write.
Now the book is almost 40 years old, so.
I mean, this is probably actually real paper, back when paper was paper. Okay, there it is. Signed.
Nice. Maybe at the
right
port.
here? Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to sign this over Starbucks' face. That way, only my face will really be visible. I mean, look at that. Look at that serious look. He never looked like that, ever.
Yeah. Nobody knows what happened to Boxy.
Oh, yeah, he's still around. I see him all the time.
Oh.
Yep. He's got tattoos all over his body. Looks like a weightlifter, muscle builder, and he's acting again and very busy.
He's acting?
Yep.
Oh.
What a signature, my God. Captain Apollo. Nobody fracks with Captain Apollo. Arr.
Whatever happened to Mary Jensen?
Oh, well. She got married, had multiple kids, and ended up being a wonderful mother. Yep. Beautiful girl, too.
And Cassiopeia?
Nobody knows what happened to her. Somebody told me she created some kind of a cosmetic line and went out and became a millionaire and wants to have nothing to do with show business. So that's what I heard.
And the secret behind Muffet, was there actually a...
Little monkey inside of a little mechanical suit.
That's the
In fact,
secret.
we had 3 monkeys that would alternate in the suit. That's right.
I always thought it was like
Evie, Stevie.
Are you kidding?
Like Huey? No, I'm not kidding you. Like
Okay.
Huey, Dewey, and Louie of Silent Running with Bruce Stern,
Yeah.
which were the forerunners of R2-D2. You know, if you want to know where R2-D2 came from, just go look at Silent Running with Bruce Stern,
Right.
and you'll see Huey, Louie, and Dewey, these little droids that take care of the ship. So there you go. It's all signed. So say we all keeping the faith. Oh my God.
One last one. It's from Universal Studios in Singapore.
So here I am back in the days when I used to be handsome. Look at me juggling my little hat there. That was the heaviest helmet in history. Honestly, we get a headache from putting that helmet on. All right.
Did they manage to get the whole thing down to its...
Yeah, they did. Yeah, look at that's actually a nice little shot. I actually like that one. So here I'm signing it. It's me, Richard Hatch, signing. Have you ever seen an amazing signature like that? Captain Apollo rocks. How's that?
Nice.
I was very excited when I found out about these dual roller coasters in Singapore at I guess the Universal theme park. And it's a Battlestar Galactica roller coaster. So I was blown away that they actually created a roller coaster for that. They used to have the Battlestar exhibit over at the Universal Studios in Hollywood for over 14, 15 years. But I was amazed that they actually built one over in Singapore. And apparently it's one of the highest and biggest dual roller coasters in the world. And so I was, somebody actually mentioned it to me, and I was hoping maybe one day I'd get a chance to ride it.
And what are your thoughts of the fans in Singapore who followed the Galactica franchise? Just a quick message to the fans in Singapore.
I just want to, first of all, I just want to thank all the fans in Singapore for supporting Battlestar Galactica. I think, number one, Battlestar is probably, for me, one of the best sci-fi shows ever in the history of sci-fi. And the fact that you actually, I think, love that show. And I think anybody that loves that show really gets the deeper, meaning of that show, what that show was really all about, which was really, a hope for mankind, that even in the worst of times, mankind finds a way to survive, a way to win, a way to end up on top at the end of the day. No matter what we go through, no matter how hard we struggle, somehow, some way, we find a way to pull it together and to survive. And I just think that anybody that enjoys Battlestar probably has that inside of them as well. It kind of reminds us of our humanity and inspires us all to our greater selves. So all of you continue to support the show. I look forward to more Battlestar in the future, and I can't wait to see it on the big screen, on that big IMAX, blowing everybody away. And I'd love to be sitting in Singapore along with you guys rooting Battlestar Galactica on. So say we on.
Fleeing from the Cylon tyranny, the last Battlestar, Galactica, leads a ragtag fugitive fleet on a lonely quest. A shining planet known as Earth.
Second to me and see if it works.
Yep.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm talking, anyway, Battlestar Galactica was a great experience. Actually, I hated the goddamn show. No, I loved it. I really loved it. It was actually one of the best things I ever did. Anyway.
Okay.
All right, play it back.